All right, all right.
We're here. We're live tonight, and I'm coming with at you as the Gold Dragon to the Bad Wolf. This is our first time going live together, so this is going to be part of our journey. And we did not mean for us to be the wolf and the dragon, but you know what? Just as things work out, you know, great minds think alike. He's the wolf, I'm the dragon, and now we're going to keep this thing rolling for you guys.
So once again, you guys, you know I am the Bad Wolf, the man of international mysteries, usually the man in black. And we're just doing an open forum tonight. So I'm gonna have my cousin here. So if you guys didn't know, that's why we look kind of similar, because we are family. So my cousin here, BA, has his own channel. So I guess before we even get started, B, tell them a little bit about you, what you're into, where they can find you, and all that good stuff. And then we'll jump into it.
Yes. I have a brand new channel on YouTube myself, The Gold Dragon. So you can go over to YouTube, check out The Gold Dragon. Right now, there's only a few videos on there as I'm just getting started, trying to catch up to my cuz here. But, you know, I thought it was just about time for me to be able to share my journey with martial arts with everybody, you know. So as we really want to ramp up and keep going and in this new day in technology, hey, it's time to get on YouTube, man. Time to get on YouTube and show what Kung Fu life is all about. Because a lot of people on the outside looking in, they think of martial arts as just punching and kicking. But when you get into Kung Fu, it gets way deeper than that, you know, and it impermeates through your soul, actually, you know, as you start studying everything, more than just the moves. I mean, all the way through to Kung Fu life. So I want to be able to convey that to everybody, you know.
And it's also the spiritual connection. It's also for health,
Absolutely,
mental stimulation, and improves, because I'm also a practitioner as well, but he's the professional one. Mostly for me, it's been like self-taught, and then just years of, well, when I was younger, especially years of different instructors. Never found one art form, but yeah.
Absolutely. Mental health is an understatement, because when you go through the training, your brain is trying to fire at all times to be able to perform the moves. So as you keep on doing it, your brain just becomes stronger, your body becomes stronger from the inside out. And luckily for me, I was able to hook up with the people from Moyat Kung Fu through my church just by chance. So it's been a blessed journey, to say the least. So if you want to learn more about that, you can go over to my channel, The Gold Dragon. And I'm also on Facebook, and I do have TikTok. I'm getting good at all the formats. All the formats are a little bit different. It's tricky nowadays, man. You got to be good with this stuff out here. People ain't playing about it.
Yeah, Al, this is my cousin. So yeah, you're right. We do look related as well. We are. And sometimes it's a little weird because we go out, and I know personally for me, I've had people ask me, talk to me like I was him, and I just maintain the conversation, especially if I let the beard come in. So I'm just like, yeah, because I mean, I know about his life anyway. They're like, oh, you're still over here? You're doing this? Right. How's the family? I'm like, you know, it's good. So I see we got some people from LA, and we got some people from California in the house. Okay. First time. Appreciate you. Thanks for thanks for being here with us and us having you here. Appreciate you. Greetings, familia. Yep. Appreciate you, goddess. Let's see what else we have here. We got some new people. We're going to flash these up real quick. And then, so Brian is getting into this a little bit, I would say. Now, not full throttle like where I'm at this point in time.
Right.
But he also wants to learn about, you know, the private side. And so we just figured we're going to do a collab. So it looks like we got about 55 people in the house. We appreciate each and every one of you guys.
What's going on, everybody?
And if you guys have some questions for Brian or me, put those in the comments section. We'll try to get to those as soon as we can. We're going to just do some questioning, and then we're just going to jump into it. So we got Canada. All right, Mr. Picard. See you out there. We got, right?
Kevin Picard, recognized.
Calvin from Canada. What's going on?
Canada.
All right, we got GA. And all right, LA as well. Okay, another LA person. Okay. Usually a lot of people are from New York. So apparently New York and California, you guys are getting just beat up by the system. And that's usually, I probably say like 80% of my clients come from when we do consultations as well.
Yeah.
So, all right, we got Florida and what else? We got San Diego.
All right. Well, you know what? Now that we have some people coming in from all over the country, I guess one of the first questions I could start off with is becoming a private citizen, right? That's what this is all about, to kind of wrap it up in a nutshell. And then can you do this throughout the lower 48 states of America? Is it good and valid everywhere, or what? How does it go up and down? What do you think about this?
The first thing about what we're doing here is that it has standing in law. And what standing in law means is the law recognize it as a legitimate, real thing that has certain characteristics within the legal system.
Okay.
So being a private citizen is one of the ways of referring, is how we refer to it. But that's more so like the police officers. Police officers are not actually taught everything that I talk about. So that's why sometimes in the system, if you don't address yourself correctly, they don't know what you're talking about. And then they like to call you out of your name and crazy or whatever else.
Right.
But how they are taught to refer to people who live like us in the private is they call us private citizens. But the actual lawful term for it is state citizen or national.
National. Mm-hmm.
And everybody born anywhere in the United States or its territories are naturally, by their birthright, given the ability to be called, say, if you live in Florida, you're Floridian. New York is a New Yorker.
Right.
California is a Californian. And this can be found under GPO Style Manual, which is the government publishing's official book. And they basically have to tell you about everything that they're doing. There has to be a main manual that the public has access to that talks about everything. So if it's not in one of their manuals, it doesn't exist. And normally that would be a bad thing, but that means you're going even more so private.
Right.
But they don't like things that they can't recognize. So you have to use things that have standing in law.
Right.
So once again, in the GPO Style Manual, section 5.23, it literally says the natives, under the classification of nationalities, the natives of the several states will be regarded by the following forms. And that's where you see like Alaskan, Alabamian, Californian, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
So it is something that's recognized, but most of the people who work in the public, like police officers, they've never heard it referred to this way.
Right.
If they're in California, they know what a Californian is, but they don't know that it has standing and that it's actually a separate thing from your citizenship. Because when you're born, you get your nationality as that Californian, but then you also, by law, okay, so lawfully usually means under the Constitution,
okay,
which is the supreme law of the land. And then legally usually means on the state level, corporate codes and statutes.
Mm-hmm.
So those are two separate things, citizenship, nationality. And under, 8 FAM, which is Foreign Affairs Manual, section 300, they talk about the difference between U.S. citizenship and nationality, and that in most other places in the world, those are the same thing.
It seems like you've done some studying into this. How many years? How many years? This didn't come overnight. How many years does it take? Okay.
Well, I'll tell you this. So I've been doing this since I was 9 years old. That's when I fell into it.
I've known you for a long time.
Yeah.
At what point?
The entire time. I was privately doing this, even back in the day when we was just, out in the streets kicking it and whatever else. I would just come home and read this stuff. And then I would have your own personal things. You get a speeding ticket, you get a, OWI or whatever else. And you're like, man, and I don't know about you, but for me, I have one, so it was like, man, do I just pay this? But I always like to, I guess, argue, so I wanted to argue my point. So I just started every major problem that came in my life, all I did was I started reading law books and adding books and all these books over here. And just at one point in time, after going through some of these so-called gurus and whatever else and losing thousands of dollars on people, I just realized one day that I know this stuff. But yes, I would say easily probably 20 plus years, 30 years easily.
Okay.
I did put it down. I didn't do it full time until the last probably like 10 years. So I would pick it up on and off.
Right.
But also when I got started, which is like, it's almost 40 years now, there was no internet, at least not on the public side. There was a military side.
I think you kind of aging us out here.
I didn't tell how old you are.
The internet.
What? There was a time where there wasn't one?
Right.
So you had to go down to the library. So that's what I would do, is walk down to the library and just started asking the librarian about this whole private citizen, state citizen thing. And they just gave me all these books and I just read them and never stopped.
So then was this a natural progress for you to really jump over from having the knowledge base to actually putting it in action?
Yeah, because nobody in their right mind sits down and just looks for obscure topics to just learn.
True.
And this, though now it's becoming definitely more popular, nobody knew about this. Well, let me say this. Very few people knew about it in the old days. You had to go to like a party and meet some old crazy dude who lived on the corner, which now I'm the old crazy dude who lives on the corner talking about this.
Yes.
And yeah. And you had to literally ask them questions, because most of them aren't going to advertise it for you. There's people like Norm Macdonald and a couple other ones out there, some of these old time greats who, put it out there.
Right.
But if you're not one of them, like a public officer, judge, lawyer, attorney, et cetera, else, you're not going to learn about this. But they put it in our faces every day.
Every day. And
we use bits of it. They refer to us as this. And
from their side, though, too. Right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing, too.
Well, because they don't want us to know the game. If you know how to play the game, then you're going to operate it correctly.
Right.
But if you don't operate it correctly, then it makes them money. So it's job security.
Right.
For you not to know, because then what do? I don't understand that law stuff. I don't know what my constitutional rights are. So I'm just going to hire an attorney or a lawyer or somebody.
And it just keeps that money turning and burning through the system.
Correct.
Everybody who doesn't know, hey, just come on in here.
And what people also don't know is that
1,000.
You waive your rights under the Constitution when you hire a lawyer. You're waiving your rights. See, as a private citizen, you're based under the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights.
Okay.
So we're under these things naturally. But when you operate as a resident, okay, and there's a key importance when you hear the word resident. The word resident actually means resident. So you are residing and you're entering something new, which is where the word comes from. So these people use the same words that we do, but we think that we understand what the word actually means from their perspective. So they're involving us in a game, or we'll say business, but we don't understand the rules.
Right.
Just like as a private citizen or a national, we use Webster's dictionary for defining things, normal words, terms, Merriam's or whatever. But in their world, here, I'll give you that. That is their book, and they use the same English words. And this is actually the latest edition that just came out. Woo. And the same words that we use in here.
Right.
Merriam's or Webster's in this book don't have the same meanings as the one in this one. This is the law book. This is just for private citizens, Americans. This is for U.S. citizens and the courtrooms. So Black's Law Dictionary, and it's not just for Black people because it has the word Blacks on there. It's just called Black's Law. Right. Okay, because they operate everything in the Black realm, which means either dead or a debtor or an entity which is not living. Their world is all based on what's called maritime admiralty law, and it is different than American law under the Constitution.
So they're using the wordplay against you.
Correct.
And now you touched on another thing too, because I mean, it seems like this has been around for forever and nobody really knew this stuff. You know what I mean? Even before the internet and everything, because we're talking about legal laws that go through the courts. The courts have been around for, hundreds of years. And, not that many people know about it and they're talking about it. But I would suppose that maybe just some of the top-notch lawyers may know about this.
Oh, they absolutely know about it. And they refer to what we do here as common law, okay, or constitutional law. And they'll downplay it because the Constitution gave them the ability to do what they're doing here. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But once you become a lawyer and all that, like you can't divulge the secret of the game. Otherwise you're basically going to cause like a systematic degradation of the very job the position that you have and the money that you're making.
Right. True.
So you want to represent, okay, your clients,
mm-hmm.
but in the word represent or represent, it's understanding that with the word re in there, once again, it's word magic, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
We as living people are always in the present. We're never in the future. We're never in the past. We're always in the present.
Right.
Everybody alive right now is in the present, but they deal in the dead world. So you're representing something.
Okay.
Okay. You're representing something. So that means it's not live. Okay.
Ooh, this is deep.
just like being a recident. That's why they want you to claim to be a recident, and they want you to register that straw man name, your name in all caps, to their system, because you're saying, I want to be an employee of yours, and I'm waiving my rights and freedoms for the most part, not 100%, but mostly to be an employee or property of the state in which you've registered and resided from the private to the public. But by law, you have both. You can use, but we almost never use the private because we don't know about it.
It's like they're even going down into the Latin terms and the breakdown of each syllable for each word for that magic wordplay. So it gets deep, and this must be old. This is old English.
This system,
not the beer either. This is old English.
And some people may argue differently with me, but I've researched this back as far as I can, and this might be where I lose some people out there. So I probably shouldn't say the forbidden A word here, but that's never stopped me. So can't stop, won't stop. But I've been able to find that this goes all the way back to ancient Atlantis. Okay.
Oh.
That A word, everybody.
Come on now.
Everybody's afraid of the A word. Oh, not here. I study everything that I can get my hands on. So the first Atlantean people, along with the Lemurians, were ancient mariners.
Okay.
Okay. So mariners is where we get the word merchant.
Okay.
So they were the first mermen, and they would go around doing merchandising. They were peddling their wares over the water. So they created a system of water laws to deal with these other countries around the world. So they were some of the first business people peddling their wares.
Wow.
So then after the Atlantis catastrophe, which was them getting wiped off the map, and just to jump into that real quick, the ancient city of Atlantis is located in the Sahara Desert, known as the Richard structure. That's where it is. You can literally see where the whole ocean or whatever, because there was an inland sea. Everything where it's the Sahara was actually a sea. There's an inland sea at one point in time, and then it flooded and wiped everything off the map. But I digress.
I'm telling y'all, you're going to have to stick around because that is going to be a whole nother video. We're going to have to look this up and see it for ourselves, but not today. But I'm keeping that one in mind.
All right. So what ended up happening is all the survivors went to all of the countries that were still unflooded after that flood fiasco. So the entire world wasn't completely underwater, but a lot of places, even the ancient Greeks talk about being flooded. They all got wiped out. Right. The ancient Egyptians talk about Atlantis all the time and how anyway, let's get back to the main focus. So, so all these survivors.
Real quick, we are going to get back to the main focus, but as you were mentioning those ancient civilizations, they had laws of their own too, and that's how they had to govern.
That's where this comes from. That system actually from the survivors was then given to the more savage, if you want to call them that, or rural, whatever, people in the various lands. That's why a lot of these things match up around the world. So then eventually, long story short, a lot of it went to the Egyptians and the Phoenicians, and eventually to the Greeks, and the Romans then took it over, and then the Vatican, the church state, all of them started doing that to unify the business. And then Britain adopted it. And then obviously when the founding fathers came here, they brought some of that with them.
A lot of it.
A lot of it.
Right.
So
the blanket structure.
Yeah. So it's rules and laws for operating and governing commerce of the sea, commercial on the water.
Commerce of the sea. So then these laws being maritime and over the water, and then now it blankets the land as well now?
So what they did is they abridged the Constitution. The Constitution operates under what's known as terra firma jurisdiction, or on the land. So terra firma is land.
Right.
These documents operate the laws, and there's nothing superior other than God's law or natural law. Some people say also religion or whatever. But everything from there down that's not natural is man-made. So the Constitution says, yeah, you can do business here. We don't care. But what these people did is they created the United States, and there's 3 different definitions of the term United States. They created one company called the United States, and then they brought in maritime law underneath that term. Okay. So what happens is their laws were never supposed to be farther than where the water meets the land. So your banks, your shores, and that's where we get the term banking from. Where the water meets the land, you do business as a merchant, and it's called banking.
On the bank.
So that's where the banks come from. And actually, the
right in front of our faces
the whole time, the courtroom is also considered to be a ship in dry dock.
Okay.
And when you go past a little swinging door, which is the bar, which separates the public from their private, okay, being a member of theirs,
okay,
then everything in here is maritime law, because the judge is a captain on that ship.
Wow. And that's what it represents every time you go into the docket,
the courtroom. Well, and that's why they name things based on water laws. So the docket, when you're born, you're seeing the doctor.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. And then they give you your birth certificate, which represents you as a non-living entity, because you're cargo. Remember, everything that they do is about ships and water based. So when you're on the streets and you're on the highway, it's because in the old days, and still yet to this day, the ships come in, it represents the high waterways. So your car is considered a vessel.
Right.
Under maritime law.
Right.
That's why they also just want to call it a motor vehicle. So it's just a vehicle with motor, which means it's a vessel with a motor on it, like a boat.
Wow.
And then they get you to register your car as part of their property.
Right.
So you're waiving some of your rights to having a free vehicle unencumbered by their jurisdictional.
It must feel good, though, also to know this much of the history of the wordplay and the law as you're swinging through everything in life, period,
Yeah,
it's got to give you like a lot of good self-confidence just to go through everything and say, you know what, I know what all of this is about.
It's like the movie The Matrix, because you're looking around, or the movie They Live, for some of you guys who might remember that movie.
Oh, I remember.
And you're looking around and nobody knows what you know. And everybody's operating their life. And when you try to wake them, they're just like, yeah, okay, bro, you're crazy,
Right.
Until you start seeing that we've won countless court cases, since I've been doing that, winning since I was 19. But real quick, I just want to interject. It seems like that has a question. It says, can you become a private citizen if you're from another country? You're actually already a private national from your home country when you're here. The thing is, though, is that you're attempting it, and I don't know if you become a citizen or whatever else, and let's say maybe you've naturalized. If you've naturalized here, then yes. And normally that's done through the department, almost all the time it's done through the Department of Immigration and Naturalization. But yeah, if you come here from another country, you are a private national or foreign national from that country, also sometimes referred to here as a non-resident They all mean the same thing. And absolutely, you can become Ivy. What's going on, Ivy? Appreciate you. See you out there. So absolutely. Other ways would be to marry a national, because when you marry a national, you get their citizenship and their nationality. It's the way they look at it in this business world is that you're merging two corporations. Your name in all caps is a corporation, an entity, like a business trust that you were given. That's what the birth certificate represents.
Mhm.
Now, there's 3 different types, but there's the one with the baby feet print on there.
Mhm.
There's the one called the certificate of live birth, and then there's the one issued from the state, which is called the birth certificate. Now, within their world, they have to show a difference, and I read this in law. They have to show a difference in jurisdiction. They have to give you little things that the average person sees every day that you don't know what they mean, but somebody like me who studies law on the legal level, okay, will understand the information and knows what it means. So the fact that the state of Arkansas, and all of them do the state of Arkansas birth certificate. Well, why don't they call it a certificate of the live birth? Because that's already been taken, and you're going into something new when the state issues one.
Okay.
So the hospital is actually in on it too, because when you're born alive, that's your live birth document.
Mm-hmm.
It has the baby feet print on there. We know that it's important because they stamp your feet. First thing they do, right out of the vajay,
Right.
back.
Right.
And we all know about it.
Even them feet.
Almost nobody knows why.
Right. Okay.
The reason for that is because these people play in spirituality and they move differently. And they kind of operate in an occult type world. And the word occult really just means hidden.
Mm-hmm.
So they operate in a hidden world of maritime symbols, things of that nature. So what ends up happening is when you put your feet on there, that represents you, or in this case, because you're live, it presents you as a living being, because nothing dead in a corporation doesn't have feet. And it's divine, immaculate conception or touching.
Right.
Okay. So what happens is that means that, and this part's alleged, I can't prove this, but from people I've talked to, that eventually those go either missing or they're alleged to be destroyed, and they make their way to the Vatican, because then the Pope can say, look at all the souls, because where do they put the print in?
Right.
The soles of your feet.
In the soles of the feet. That's deep. Deeper. All of this is deep.
It's all deep. And this is their game. They play this particular. Remember, everything, guys, here, it's education and entertainment purposes.
Educational only.
Do your own research, okay?
Right.
But so the hospital doesn't want you to have that. So they squirrel that one away.
Right. You know what? I was talking to my wife. She's a nurse, and she doesn't seem to even know about it. And she worked in the delivering the babies for years. Yeah, they're
digitizing them now so they can do it even quicker and you don't see it. So unless you ask for a copy of that, and I would recommend asking for a copy of that. And then what they're going to do is they're going to charge you an extra $100, $200, something like that for that one document. Right. Now, why wouldn't they just put it on your bill? I asked them this when my son was born. They won't do it. Right. They really don't want you to have it. It's almost like a need to know thing. And then what they do to downplay it is they call it a heirloom or a souvenir. But why is it the first thing that they mandatorily do every single time?
They make sure they get done with it right away.
Instantly. First thing.
See, and I was saying that. But they must whisk those away right away.
Instantly. Then by law, what they have to do is they have to give you a receipt. Okay, once again, there's that word re in there. Right. They give you a receipt of the transaction. And that then they have to give to, and they call that a certificate of the live birth. Right. So if the first one, they call it a heirloom and a souvenir, okay, like they downplay it. Mm-hmm. And then, but by law, they have to issue you something called a certificate of the live birth. So let's break that down. Certificate means a formal certification. So we're making something from ragged and whatever else, and we're making it real, or it's recognized in our world. Okay. But then you see the word of. Anytime you see the word of, you're almost never getting the real thing.
You're right. You're getting a piece of.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
A piece of the pie.
Correct. So let's say somebody's last name is Johnson, and I'm an honorary member of the Johnson family, but my last name is Lovett. So I'm treated like a Johnson. I don't have Johnson blood, but if we get into a fight, you know, at the family reunion,
do you get some of that Johnson money?
Well, that's a whole
other thing. Probably not.
That's a whole other video. All right.
Hold up, son. Hold up.
So when you see the word "of," it means you're not getting the real thing. Like state of Florida is not the same as Florida State.
Right.
So when you have something called Florida State, there's no word "of" in there. You're getting the real de jure thing.
Right.
All right. So they have to give you the certificate of the live birth. All right. So they made your birth from a private thing to a more formal thing. So that means if this is a variant of the original, so you've got the original one with the baby feet, you're now getting the certificate of the live birth. So it's the next best thing. But then the lady slides into your room and she goes, well, oh, the state of Arkansas says you must register your child, which is no such thing because it's your property. That would be slavery, and they can't force you to do that. But they'll slide in there. Oh, well, the state of Arkansas, state of Florida, state of Maine, state of Illinois, you have to do this. Right. Which, for religious reasons, is another way of dealing with that. But that being the case, she takes one of them. If you allow her to, you don't have to. She sends it to the state. Now the state of Maine, which is a corporation, issues you the employee version of the certificate of live birth, and they have to then show a difference in its jurisdiction, and they call it the birth certificate. So they change the words around. Right. So it's something different. So even though these are minor differences, some people would say they're semantics or whatever else. They're actually not, because under copyright law, if you own something, somebody else wants to do something similar, you have to make it similar but different by at least up to 30%. Otherwise, you're infringing on somebody else's materials and rights to do something else. So they created the birth certificate. And when you look at your birth certificate, you'll see that there's no living information on there. It doesn't have your birth weight, eye color, hair color, nationality. It has your mom's name, your dad's name, your name. No living information, because they didn't birth a living being. They birthed a legal person. A legal person has the form of a living man, but it's not itself alive or living. It's a dead entity. And you are controlling it like a business, because that's what they're doing.
I'm trying to remember now what my birth certificate looks like. You're going to have me looking up my birth certificate, that's for sure. All right. But
well, it may be a birth certificate. You may have a certificate of live birth. Right. So it just depends. Or you may have a certified copy, which is on their paper, but it has your living information from your certificate of live birth on there.
So they're starting to try to own you right away, straight from birth.
Yeah, they want you to join.
They're owning a piece of you somehow.
Yes. Right. And most of my viewers already know a lot of this, but we're breaking some of this down for the new people. And here's the thing, and this is one of the things that made my channel get pretty popular, is because when people didn't believe me about this information, I said, okay, let's take it up a notch. I said, if you, educationally speaking, if you see a red number on your birth certificate, there's usually two sets. There's one serialized number for in which you came in, but then if it's on thicker paper, that's bond paper. Okay. And if you see a red number, generally those are CUSIP numbers. So that means that your birth certificate is actually a bond, and they're making money off of your all caps name. They're trading it on Wall Street and other places, we'll just say. And I made a video on it showing people how to look that information up. So, but for the record, I do not show you how to cash them in. That's a whole journey you guys have to take on your own. So please do not email me and ask me like so many people used to. We don't do that. It's a very sticky, complicated thing, and it's something that I don't have all of the information, because they definitely make sure that you can only go so far into their world when it comes to money. Right. Now there are some people. Money, there's a line. There's a wall that you will hit, and that's the wall that I hit. Right. So though some people have watched my videos and have made claims that they have access to these things, I personally have not done anything with mine, nor have I seen 100% proofs. I just want to say that out there of going past what I've shown you. But the information of pulling your information up is factual, and people have seen that. And then even people who didn't believe there's anything to it, because there's a specific, complicated way you have to do it. It's not just an easy thing. Right.
So then they're starting to own you from birth, and then you are now being bound into the system to abide by their laws and play their side of the game. That's really what all of this is about. And so then when you're trying to, take back the veil.
Correct. So real quick, and then we'll jump back in there. So
Okay.
Can you be a private American and a national? These are the same things. So one of the things that they do to try to confuse us and to get us to go, oh, that's complicated, and it's spelled exactly the same thing. So that's I don't understand it. Is they try to confuse and muddle it. But a national and a private American are the same exact things. Okay. So if you want to basically look it up, you'd want to look up 8 USC 1101-22 A and B on Cornell Law's legal website. That's where you'll find it. If you're born here as a national, another code you can look up is 8 USC 1401, and then there's A, B, C, and D for the different types of nationals. It literally says under 8 USC 1401A, citizen and national at birth. So, but the term private American, doesn't have standing in law. They know what you're talking about, and they know that you're referring to yourself as either a national or a state citizen. But the term private American is something that we use amongst ourselves, but it doesn't have standing in law. You're not going to just find it in a book and then go, oh, private American, and you have these things. You're going to find it under national or state citizen.
Right. It seems like a lot of the legal codes there. Can I hire you as my lawyer?
No,
that would seem to be a wise thing to do.
So you can't call yourself a lawyer because that requires being a part of the bar.
True.
Okay.
Because you have to pass the bar.
Correct. There you go. And then once you do that, then you can't talk about the things that I'm talking about. Otherwise, you'll be barred or disbarred.
Disbarred, right.
Yeah.
And you're in the game.
Which means you can't even go in Australia and get a job in their membership club. You're done.
Oh.
You're out of the whole game.
Oh.
He's out of the game.
Oh. So you don't want to be a lawyer technically at this point.
No. And remember, once you hire a lawyer, you have waived your rights and you're considered dead. That's why if you talk out of turn when the judge is speaking, the judge addresses the lawyer and says, get your counsel, because to him, you're mumbly. You're like a person dying.
Right.
And your lawyer is an interpreter for the dead.
Woof. That's deep. So then that's why they also discourage you from representing yourself in court.
Yes. And then what they're not supposed to do, correct. What they're not supposed to do is to threaten or coerce you or pressure you into getting a lawyer. But the moment you get a lawyer, your rights are gone. You've waived them. You said, I'm incompetent.
Right.
That's what that
I don't
means.
know what I'm talking about. He's representing me now.
Correct. He's representing me.
Representing. Right.
So most people, if you know enough about this, you can operate by what's known as an attorney in fact. So a turn means to turn over, and facts are just facts. So you can be an attorney in fact, or that's what I operate now. Of course, I can't be hired for those things. I don't do that.
Right.
But I do consults, and I do guide people privately on how I would present myself in court. Now, a lot of times when you go to court, especially doing it yourself, they want to call you pro se. Pro se means is short for prosecutor. So they're basically saying you're operating like a recognized prosecutor in the court.
Okay.
Now, I did look this up, and from their perspective, they say that they will hold you to the standard of a prosecutor, but not penalize you as a prosecutor. Okay, just to be clear. But I like to go in, if you're going to go in, I tell people you want to put it under sui juris or pro per. Sui juris means of my own right and freedom. Okay. Pro per means as my correct person, because remember, your name in all capitalized letters is a legal person.
Okay.
So imagine it like this.
You can use your all capital letter name yourself.
Yes.
Just as the government is using it too.
It's what's known as some people call it a straw man or a public transmitting utility. That means that when doing business in their group, which is called the public, you're operating a business. It's just like if you were to buy Nike or something like that, and then no Nike sponsorship. We're not sponsored by them. Fair use. But gotta throw it all in there
real quick.
But and you changed it to your name, you would instantly know that that physical building is not you. But if the court says, hey, the Gold Dragon is on trial or somebody suing, you're going to show up because the business, you represent the business.
Okay.
So if you had the same name, you wouldn't understand that there's any difference. You are that entity. You are responsible for it. So what they did is they created a business, but gave it your same name. So we're all doing business right now through the state, in the public, but through a business entity, a legal person that has the same name as us, but it's not us.
Wow.
It is a separate legal thing and not you. But because you put everything that you have, your house, your car, your kids, your cell phone, everything in that name, and guess what? They operate everything in the public.
Right.
So their group is so big, but it's actually private. Not everybody can just come here and get into that as a citizen. Right. It's a private thing. So they're what's known as a PMA, a private members association. They're a huge association of all like-minded people. It's so big that they call it the public. So it's a private membership for U.S. citizens. It's so big that they gave it a name, and it's called the public. So you are a member of the public. But if you go and knock on a police officer's door, and I don't recommend doing this by any means, at 2 o'clock in the morning, he's going to come down in his shorts and a pistol, and he's going to be like, what are you doing here? Well, I just wanted to ask you some things. But it's like, dude, I'm in my private house. I'm in my private capacity. Right. I'm at home. And so when he's at home, he's a private citizen. Right. He's not addressed or adorned with public garments and public service.
Right, right. So that even goes down to the police as far as the law. And then now what about when you see people that have private property? Is that about the same? Or
so private property, we all think that we own our houses, and I can make a whole video on the fraud of the mortgage and the banking and all that stuff. So, and this might hurt some people's feelings, but generally your house and your property aren't private.
Okay, how so?
Matter of fact, if you go and pull out your mortgage, and I can bet everybody here, whatever, you're going to look at your mortgage and it's going to say tenant. Your mortgage refers to you as a tenant on your own property.
It better not.
It absolutely the hell does. It does not refer to you as the owner of that property. You are a tenant.
See, look.
You don't even become near an owner until you actually pay it off. And even when you pay it off, here's the problem. It's in your name. And let me ask you, B, can you vote?
I can vote, yeah.
Then that means you registered your name to the state, right?
Yes.
So your name and anything under your name is property of the state. That's why they can administer your public trust, which is your name in all caps.
Woo. Jeepers.
Anything underneath your name is not, it's here's the thing. Most people don't even know how to
lifted back tonight. I'm telling you.
Well, it's definitely lifting
mind-blowing stuff.
It is. It's crazy because when you hear it, until you start to win in court, like I have, like you're like, come on, man, this can't be real, can't be true.
Right, yeah.
I see these things every day. But ask yourself, why does everything that you have, your ID, your mortgage, your vehicle, everything, bank account, why are they always with your name's always in capitalized letters?
Right. I have started to notice that.
Because that is your business name.
That is your business name.
That is your legal person that you're doing. It's like a mask or a vessel. You're putting on a suit to do business.
Right.
So your name is a vessel that can hold things. It's like a trust. So really they gave you like a business trust that you are operating and you put everything in its name.
Right. So then also, are we learning how to use our business name in a deeper capacity with this, would you say?
When done correctly, you're learning how to control, because remember, rich people always, and you'll know it when I say it, have always, every one of us since we were kids, have always heard this odd expression, control everything, own nothing.
I have heard that.
Okay. So with your straw man, you're controlling it, but you actually don't own it. You've never taken ownership of your own stuff. You're operating
Okay.
the business, but
Right.
you don't own it because you registered your name. Your name is now part of the system.
Oh,
So in order to go private, because of their, and we won't call it fraud, we'll say misadventure in business. You registered your name and gave it up to the state and said,
Okay.
hey, if I screw up, just like if you get married, why are you going to another man to ask permission in the state to get married? Well, what happens is you're saying, I want to merge my corporate name, my corporate person, legal person,
right.
with this person's corporate person.
Okay.
So the state sanctions that. They say, hey, we got a product for you. We can do it. We call it marriage. So
Right,
you did
right.
a business merger.
And that's why you have to get the license and sign the papers and the documents and everything in blood.
Exactly.
They want some of the lifeblood too.
Right. And that's why when you break up, no matter what, they can administer how it's going to happen, and you almost get no say so because you've already registered your name to them.
Right.
And now you registered your union, your
Right.
your merger
Right.
with them, just like any business.
And I'm saying that I'm going to abide by their rules doing
Correct.
it, the whole 9.
Correct.
Right.
And then when you mess up or the person makes a complaint against you, you have to go to court because now they have to administer. Now, if you guys did a private common law marriage, then you guys figure it out.
They don't want us really doing that.
They don't want why? Then they don't make any money.
They don't make any money. Yeah,
See,
right.
the federal government also does not issue a product of marriage. They believe that that is for you to do privately. You don't need anybody to create your own vows. You create your own vows. You put all that together. You guys have witnesses, and if you want, you get a notary. You put your thumbprint on there, or a spat of blood, or get it notarized. Whatever you want to do. But then it becomes a contract, like everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So why can't you just have a private contract? Why do you need a state to have a private contract that they can then administer? And then you guys break up, and they go, you get $500 and she gets everything else, and there's nothing you can do.
Right, because you already signed over that you were going to abide by their laws,
right,
through the registry,
and obviously you're incompetent because you didn't choose to do it privately. Because see, when you get to be 18, and we've heard this before, being 18, you're in your minor account, your minor estate.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which means you're minor minded. You can't legally do anything while you're in that. So they administer things, right?
Right, yeah.
So when you get to 18, you're like, okay, I'm an adult now. Kind of.
Not exactly.
Well,
yeah.
Because you never told them that you are what's known as age of the majority at 18, and you're competent to now handle your affairs, your products, your car, your house, whatever else in the private, because you're still putting it in the public.
Right.
So you must be incompetent. So
right.
You can be incompetent at any age. You can have somebody who's 89 years old right now, and legally they're considered incompetent because all their stuff is in the public. You've been giving it to them to administer the entire time.
Right.
Why aren't you taking your stuff and putting it in a private trust or a private unincorporated association or a 508c1a, which for those of you who don't know, those products are available on blacksite32.com or jamesc11.com.
Mm-hmm.
But what you want to do is you don't want to name your trusts your name.
Okay.
Because if you name your trust your name, you're putting it underneath the straw man. The straw man
they own back again.
is underneath the state and their jurisdiction of commerce.
This is making me want to go back and check all of my documents. I don't even know how I'm going to do it or where I'm going to start. I definitely want to check my mortgage out now to see if I'm a tenant. As much as I pay, I better not be a tenant, but I probably am. You know, the bank still has our mortgage until it's paid off. So,
and Alex, you are correct. Attorney in law, okay, and then attorney in fact. So yes, most of us operate as attorney in facts because we're turning over, which is a turn means to turn over, and we're turning over facts. But yeah, what's going on, Theo? What's going on, you guys? We see these popping up in here. I'm gonna try to put some of these up on the screen. A state citizen is foreign to the U.S. U.S. citizens has grammatical structure and uses imperative. Correct. Yes. So Alex is definitely somebody who is in the know. Your ens legis, which means, yes, a creature created at law.
Ens legis, a creature created at law.
Ens legis just means your straw man name or your name in all caps, which means a legal person.
Oh, okay.
So
all right. Ens legis, that seems like that might be the Latin term.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of this is based in Latin. And once again, Latin has a lot of its origins in the A word.
All right.
All right.
Atlantis.
Yes.
Atlanteans. They started a lot of stuff, boy.
Yes, Mark is also correct. Municipal courts are not vested with judicial power of the state, nor are they courts of record. That's why if you ask them, are we on the record? They really don't like that because you're telling them, see, this part here is a mind bender, okay, for some people. And try to explain it the best, shortest way possible. When you go into court, they are allowed to have assumptions of who they think you are. If you do not identify yourself properly, they can assume you are who they believe you and want you to be, which is going to be that legal public person or a member of their guild, if you will. So these courts are, when you go past the bar, that's actually a private membership. On the other side is the public. Now, remember, I said everything that they do is the public, right?
Right, yeah.
So, but here's where it gets weird, because the United States is in a bubble and it's private. Everything here, every bubble is actually considered private. But they call their bubble public. But if you're not a member of theirs and you're a private citizen, then that is also referred to as the public. You're not a member of there. So it's a little weird.
Right, yeah, okay.
So the best way I can get you to understand is everything that they're doing is in a private members association, but in relation to anybody who's not a member of theirs, you're also private, but you're also public. If you're not a member of theirs,
right.
So like I said, that's where it goes weird. So, but generally, keeping it straight is understanding that they have a private members association. It's called the U.S. Citizenship. Once again, United States citizenship.
Okay.
So you hear the term ship.
Ship. Rob, yeah, maritime.
Maritime. So citai or citus means to be property of the city or a non-living state.
Okay.
Zen, as you know in martial arts, is to be what? Made calm.
Right.
So now put it. So now put it together. You've been made property.
Okay.
You've been conformed to be calm on their ship. They civilized you from what they would refer to as being a savage. Savage really just means you're private and you operate under your own rules and laws how you see fit.
He's a savage. He doesn't go by our rules.
Correct.
He goes by his own rules.
Yes. So
he wanders like David Carradine in Kung Fu.
Exactly. See the reference?
You know I'm gonna bring some.
I know. I was waiting for it. No, I was waiting for it. So this whole thing is that there's nothing wrong with being called a savage. It means we have our own laws and ways of doing things. But because they wanted to formalize theirs,
right,
using common law, there's some wiggle room. In the public, their laws, codes, statutes, and regulations, there's very little wiggle room. So they made it official. They finited it. They put it in boxes. Pop, 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 pop. Whereas out in the real world, in common law, we can say, well, what common law just really means what makes sense.
Right.
But in their world, nope, this is what the fine is, blah, blah, blah. Almost no wiggle room. Right.
So then now I'm wondering, when you're going to court or something legal, you must have to have a specific document of some kind to say that you're a private citizen more than just a public entity, or that you recognize. Am I close with this here? Or?
Well, so the court process, there's a lot of stuff to it. The problem is that the main document that somebody would need. Now, what we do is we generally make affidavits and then we present them in court. And they're supposed to recognize those, because we're turning what we know, the laws and codes, and then we're putting them into something that they recognize. So they recognize their code. That's why you have to find the codes to represent what you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah.
Then you put those codes into something that they recognize, which is an affidavit.
Okay. You
get it notarized. You're basically swearing that all this information is true. So that's one of the ways that you can present yourself properly in court. But in the court scenario can be a little bit more complicated, because they can try to overrun you, ignore you. Maybe didn't submit it right. And even still yet, they're saying, okay, great, you are this national, but your legal person is still here on my books, and you need to balance these books.
Right.
And who's going to remedy the controversy here? Because if you're not going to come there and do it, then I, as judge, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to do.
So you still have to represent for both sides. Then.
Still have to represent both sides.
And know what you're doing and able to swim the waters.
Correct.
Maritime.
Yeah. Maritime. Yeah, that's it. You're getting it. Yeah, that's it. That's it. A lot of this comes from, if you guys read, it's on my website as well. It comes from, you can't make this up, the Sesta KV Act of 1666. And you heard the numbers right.
1666.
That's the real numbers. The short version of that particular document, which was, and don't quote me, but it was put into law. I forget which king it was, but essentially it's like this. They said, look, we're at war and people are not returning from the sea because they're battling on ships and probably got gobbled by sharks, right? What happens to your property though? I mean, the city must go on. I mean, everybody's living around. Somebody has to stand in and make something happen here. Right. Your property is looking a little shabby or whatever else. Somebody else wants it. So they created, once again, a salvage right law, which is the Sesta KV Act of 1666, where basically it said, look, if the Gold Dragon doesn't return for his property in 7 years, we're going to assume he abandoned it or he's not coming back. Right. So we're going to make him a certificate of title for his property, because you probably, sank to Davy Jones's locker with your title on. Nobody can find it. Right. Because a real title is just called a title. Nothing else. It's a title. You have the title. Okay. So they create a certificate of that title.
A little piece of it.
So they're saying this will stand.
This little piece is good enough.
Just as powerful as the original. And because we made it, we're gonna adjudicate it. We're gonna judge it. We're gonna say we're gonna control his estate with this fake title. That's why with your vehicle, you don't really get the actual title. You're getting a certificate of title, because the real title to your vehicle is called an MSO or an MCO, Master's Certificate of Origin. Okay. Made by the manufacturers. Those are destroyed. And then they give you a certificate of said title issued from the state. Why does the state need to be in your business? Oh, because you don't know how to do the process the correct way. Right. In the private. Right. To get that. So they said, oh, the Gold Dragon's incompetent. You give us that stupid old MCO, MSO, and we'll just get rid of that. Use that to make some money later. Right. And we'll give him a certificate of, because he doesn't know how to operate his affairs. Right. And just in case if he abandons it, we have a copy here and we know what to do. We know what to do with it. We got this. We got him. Because we're going to take care of him and his property because he's incompetent and in the first place. Yeah. And he's part of our system. He's part of our public system over here. You see, the apple in the family tree doesn't fall far. Make it make sense over here. That's what's happening. Yep, Alex is right. Incompetent. Yes, because we've never claimed that we're the age of majority. Now, we have created our own version of the age of majority, which I've made videos, and you guys can watch those. But it's understanding, because that's a whole video all on its own. And we're only grazing the top, section of it. And there's so many, we can make tons of videos on each one of these subjects alone. Like I said, and it took years, all these years of learning this and calling the state and talking to their legal department, getting hung up on a lot. Yeah, I'm sure. They didn't want to hear it. So you had me on hold for this? Yeah. But you have to understand, like, I also call the IRS. I'll call the Department of State. These people, they know who I am. Right. They know who I am. Here he comes. Like, oh, this guy, places like Cornell Law, EDU, and I know that they watch, so hello, Cornell Law. Hi to all the agencies and officers who watch me. And believe it or not, a lot of them are actually open to it, because the government itself gave the states the power to do what they're doing. But the government, even though they know that the states are doing this bogus, they can't get involved unless we bring the controversy to the federal district court. And we stand up for our rights in the Constitution. Because if you don't say nothing, it's just good business.
Right. That's how business is run.
Even if there's fraud in there, it's just good business, and you're not smart enough to understand what's going on. Because once again, you deemed yourself incompetent.
Right. Automatically.
So yeah.
Out of the gate.
When you accept the benefit and the privilege, which is different than your rights and freedoms, then you go from being born as a private citizen and a national, a New Yorker, Oklahoman, whatever else. You waive that, and you go from being the CEO of the company to the janitor to be administered. That's what's literally happened. But you still have both, but you're not operating privately. So they're like, well, he's dumb. He's incompetent.
Right.
So we got it. We'll make money off of him. He doesn't know. So somebody says, "Man, I have a discount on the license plate on your website. Thanks in advance." I actually no longer make the license plates because so many people would go back and forth like 8 times. Oh, I want it a little bit bigger, a little smaller, this and that. So you go to customplates.com. That's it. Go to custom plates, make your own. It takes 5 minutes, and it's going to be cheaper than what I would charge. So, like I said, I could easily make a lot of money off of people, but I like to give a lot of the stuff for free. I only like to charge for stuff that makes sense and stuff that you just can't easily get or do for yourself. But the plates, yeah, just go and make your own. Customplates.com. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. So
I remember seeing your license plate. This is pretty dope. Now I'm here because eventually I want to start the process to get my own plates like that, you know? And so then speaking of that, when people out there and myself and everybody else, and they hear what you're saying and they want to cross the line too, how do they get in contact with you to start the process of claiming your private citizenship?
The first thing I would tell people is that you want to read every book. Well, let me give you, I guess, the short version.
Every
yeah, I know. I'm thinking like that.
Read every book.
Yeah, people are like, come on, man, you know.
Make it easy.
I would say start by watching the videos on my YouTube channel.
Right. Okay.
I would say start with watching the top 100 videos. At the bottom of the 100 videos, if you click more, it'll open up, and then you've got about 1,200 videos. Most of them are short. They're like 5, 10, 15 minutes. Okay. I started making longer videos because people were like, no, we want to hear you keep talking on this. Like, keep going, bro. So I started making some longer ones. But watch the videos I have on my website, Badwolf Unincorporated.com. 2 sections, 2 pages, one called Free Document 1 and another one's called Free Document 2.
Okay.
I would say get those files and read. Now, I can't tell you 100% that the files that I'm going to mention is 3, 4, and I think maybe 5. I think I have 3 on my website for free. Mm-hmm. But there's one on there called Judge Dale. And this was one of the first documents after studying this stuff on my own that I came across. And I was like, Judge Dale, learning about your rights and freedoms and the pillaging of America. So I was like, what is this? Mm-hmm. And it aligned with everything that I teach now. So I was like, I'm going to read this. I look for more, and there's more. You can literally go on google.com or whatever and type in judgedale.pdf free online, and you'll find this. Now, I've done research, and I've seen that people have said Judge Dale's not a real person. I've seen people say Judge Dale is a real person, and I found judges out there obviously named Judge Dale.
Right.
And some of them were just kind of like, I don't really want to talk about it. Right. So I can't tell that the person is real, but either way, the information in there is when I read it, it made sense.
Right.
And I started operating with a lot of the materials in there to see if they were real. Okay. And I'll be damned if everything I tried worked. I started winning in court. I started discovering a lot more deeper things. And all I can say is that it's not so much about the person, if they're real or not, whoop-de-doo. But if the information is right, that's the key thing.
Now, winning in court, though, that's got to be the real battle victory, winning in court. You know what I'm saying? And so how is that process? Like when you actually win a case in court, and that's got to be a big benefit. What are some of the benefits of knowing this information as well? Because you're winning in court. What are you winning? You're winning your...
So A lot of the court stuff, I'm not going to go into here because I'm going to do a seminar, and I'm going to have 2 different versions. I've already given away a lot of the information for that in all the videos. You just have to put the puzzle pieces together.
Okay.
But as far as the court, like I said, I'm going to make a inexpensive version, and then I'm going to make the everything I've learned version.
Right. Okay.
And then that'll obviously be a little bit more expensive for those people who just go, I want to master this, you know. But generally, I've already had people utilize the information from the videos, and they email me every day, and they're like, I won my court case.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you got it in there. All right. Oh,
so
hey, all right.
There's a lot of people who are taking their bits and pieces. Now, not everybody, if I had to be honest, have been successful, because you have to understand, judges can move the goalpost on you.
I'm sure.
You can be talking to them and know a lot of stuff, and then all of a sudden the judge runs over you and goes, okay, we're going to set a next court date for April 27th at blah, blah, blah. And they're going to say, hey, does that work for you? And if you don't know how to respond to that, and you're like, oh, I guess, but okay. And everything you just said was just wiped away, and you're going to have to either do it all over again. And then there's other tricks that they can do where they can kind of dead docket things where they just keep postponing it. So it's always in the system. The money's sitting there. The money's in the bank account, but they just never get to you. But then there's also ways of dealing with that too. Right. So in my main video, I'm going to show people how to do probably 90% more of what I know in the video. So that will be a banger. That one will be pretty good. There's also things we're going to do, how to talk to cops. And by the way, I've had cops actually be in some of my seminars. Actually, me and you know some cops out there who've looked out for us over the years. Right. And so a lot of them just come and they ask me, they're like, can I do this? And they're like, is this real? And they tell me exactly who they are. And they're like, they don't teach us what you talk about. I was like, no, because that's like, you're learning state law. This is constitutional law. Right. And for people out there who don't believe like Constitution is a real thing, well, here's one of the books, Introduction to Constitutional Law, 100 Supreme Court cases. And this was done by some Yale professors and corroborated with attorneys and lawyers when they made this. You have to understand that constitutional law means, what does the Constitution say? Okay. Right. And it is the supreme law of the land. You can Google, you can ask your Alexa or whatever else. You can ask it, what is the supreme law of the United States of America? These court cases, which they don't call them court cases on the upper level, they call them opinions. Okay. So in those court case opinions, when they rule on something, it becomes law. However, the states are given that bubble to do their own private business for their own people, and those people are called residents, or U.S. citizens. Right. Okay. So depending on how you operate, whether it's a U.S. citizen or a national, if you take your controversy with the state or with you and somebody who's operating as a citizen, you're operating as a national to the federal court, it's for all those different statuses. That's why you can take all that there. They're saying, hey, we work with all of the statuses out there, but on the normal day-to-day that we do, you got a ticket, you bumped into someone's car, somebody, did whatever with an arm or something. That's all on the state level. The state's like, that's in our jurisdiction. These are all U.S. citizens. These are our people.
So now, earlier I heard you say that you do some counseling for people out there, and you must be booked up. Are you booked up, or like is it hard to get a hold of Badwolf, or what?
I mean, you're generally gonna wait a week. A week, that's not too bad. Or two, depending.
That's not too bad. Really.
Most I've been booked out was a month solid, and it was every day of doing all these things. But like I said, I'm trying to make the videos so that people can start to learn this on their own. I don't want to I help people out if they ask, as long as they haven't hurt any kids. I don't do nothing like that. Right, no federal crime, trafficking, none of that stuff. No drug related. Right. If you hurt somebody, it's just normal stuff, mostly right to travel. If you're a U.S. citizen, you got U.S. citizen plates and U.S. citizen driver's license, I can kind of guide you on how to fight in court, but understand that you've waived all of your private stuff. Okay. So you've already said, I am a member of yours and I want to pay any fines and tickets
Right.
My vehicle is registered to you, so
it's going to be hard to weasel the way back out of that.
There are still some techniques that you can use, you know, but that's why I make the video. So for people like that, you can kind of, you know, take those pieces and do it for yourself.
Right.
And if you have problems, you can hit me up. But we've solved cases. We've one case, I mean, all kind of things. Everything from one girl in Florida who she decided she wanted to take her shirt off.
Oh. Well, okay.
I mean, I have no problems with it at all.
What's the problem?
But so she reached out to me and she was like, they're coming after me. They're saying it's criminal, right? Because she showed her breasts and whatever else. And what ended up happening is one of the first things when we did a consultation, I told her, look up the state of Florida's legislative website, look up their definition. And I said, what are they charging you with? She said, nudity. I said, that's what it says on there, nothing else? She's like, yeah. I said, your homework tonight is to go look up the definition of nudity and report back to me. We'll talk again tomorrow. Do your homework. Right. So we talked, and guess what she found out?
What was that?
The definition of nudity in which they were charging her in the state of Florida, not Florida State.
Right. The piece of. Says
male or female genitalia. We just won her case.
Male or female genitalia.
She didn't show that. She only showed her.
She only showed her breasts.
Breasts. That's it.
Oh, okay. All right. So therefore, we're going to use some wordplay back against them.
Exactly. So once
they got the magic, we got some magic.
Well, all we're doing is we're using the same stuff that they're doing. We're learning how to do commerce.
Right.
We're learning.
Right.
That's what they don't want us to do, is to learn. So we're learning commerce. So once you understand that, if you look up the definition of that in which they're trying to charge you with, and it doesn't fit, you've won your case.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now they're still playing some games, but we got them to drop the primary charge. Now they're trying to go after some little minor stuff.
Right.
And we're trying to get the video footage from the cop, and they're taking an awful long time to send that. So it's odd. I'm sure they're just busy.
Yeah, it's probably going to disappear somehow.
Yeah, yeah. But then that's also bad too, because that's also then their evidence as well. But their evidence is crap because she didn't do what they alleged that they did, and it's on video.
Right.
So we've done that. I've had older grandma type ladies get their grandkids back. We've had people keep their houses. There's some other stuff that I don't want to mention on here, but we've done a lot of stuff where people thought it was hopeless. And so, yeah, every day I get emails from people thanking me for teaching this. Or
I think one of the last questions I'll have for you, and this is probably going to be a very simple one to answer, is there a big difference or any difference for a private person to do business, or the law of a private person or the law of a business? Like, can we use any of this as a LLC or a corporation, you know, whereas in the law, you have a separate, your private personal self. Mm-hmm. And then also you can have your LLC, because there's a lot of people out there that own companies, own businesses, and they probably wonder, like, how does this help me in business as well?
Okay, so one, I want to answer this question from Matthew. When are you going to do those videos? Probably within the next 2 or 3 months. So we have that coming. And I see some other people talking amongst themselves in the chat. So yes, Brandon Williams, who's an up-and-comer, is one of my first students. He came to me years ago and bought all my materials, and he is doing his own thing, and he's very successful at what he does. He works more so on enforcement, so suing them over the thing.
Oh, okay.
Where I focus more so on helping people with their contractual obligations, tickets, and getting their passport done as a national, because that's a different process as well. Mm-hmm. And I thought I seen somebody. Hold on. So you're gonna do that. Just fine. Shotgun. You know, I have heard that before. People, that sounds just like it when I said it. People say I sound like Obama. Yep, it happens. I walked to a gas station. She's like, "Oh my God, you sound and look like Obama." I was like, "It is what it is." But thank you, Riley. I appreciate you. I do get a kick out of that. I sent my first remittance coupon to my gas company, waiting to hear back. Okay, that's a whole nother process of learning to take care of your bills under the law, because everything is actually prepaid. There's some things about that in the law that we didn't know. So David says, I got a driver without a license dropped because I brought up the fact that the state broke the contract when they revoked the driver's license. There you go.
Right.
So once again, there's lots of different ways to handle your court scenario.
That's a good one right there. You know what I'm saying? Because you're really using their game rules back at them. You know what I mean? Like, you guys revoked it. Yeah. So now you gotta drop it, because now it's null and void.
There it is. So one of the things that when I got my first OWI was, and I do not recommend operating under the influence of a vehicle, by the way. And I was also just learning to do right to travel. And I did not have everything right like I do now. One of the things that they gave me a ticket for, obviously, was, operating without a vehicle or a license for the vehicle.
Okay.
But my argument at the time is I don't have a driver's license for you to give me a ticket.
Okay, right.
In order for them to give you a ticket, you must be a member of theirs. So if I don't have a driver's license and I gave it back, how can you give me a ticket?
Right. That probably stumped them.
Well, and I won it. But right. The whole thing is, so one of the other little tricks that they do is that when you go to the DMV, and let's say you want to do right to travel, and I recommend watching all of the videos I have on right to travel, including one by a woman who's now passed away. Her name is Jackie Fig. Her video is on my main blacksite32.com page. Jackie Fig, white lady, red hair. It's like 56 minutes and 17 seconds. You want to watch those videos because she's one of the first pioneers of right to travel. And you have to understand that driving is actually a commercial term. That's why you can just jump in your car right now and do Uber or whatever else, because you already have a license to do commerce.
Okay.
Your vehicle can be used for private or public things, but if you license with them, they're saying, well, you're primarily going to be using this for public anyway. This is what you're doing, right?
Right.
So it's I've got a kind of a semi-derogatory term here. I call it my dog shit cake theory.
Okay.
The dog shit cake theory is that if you have two separate things, you got a cake, you got some dog shit. You put the dog shit in the cake, the whole cake is fucked up, right?
Definitely.
No one's going to eat the cake. So it's tainted.
I'm not eating.
That's what they do with our names. They taint our names when we register our stuff with them. So we don't have complete autonomy over ourselves or the vehicle or the house because we've registered it to them. Private people should just record the sale of these things. But anyway, but to back up, to answer your question, sorry, I know I kind of trilled. Everybody has the ability to operate a LLC.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You can obviously operate your straw man. We've been doing it since day one, which is really just a trust. It's a business trust. So we've been doing business the entire time.
Right.
That's why if you mess up to a bad point and you can't pay your bills, they discharge your debt or do it through bankruptcy, because they're administrator saying he can't handle his trust, so we're going to take care of it. And the reason why I call it trust is because if the people in the public offices are trustees, public officers, then in a trust, there's three positions. There's the trustor, or otherwise sometimes known as the grantor, the creator of it,
right.
The trustee who operates it, and then the beneficiary who receives from it. So if they're the trustee, they can't be the beneficiary as well, right? So that means there's two open positions. So we are the creators of this trust, so we're the trustor, and we're the beneficiary.
Okay.
But when you go into court, they look at you as you're incompetent, so you must be a trustee and you don't know how to do, you're in breach of the trust. You're not operating the trust the right way. We gave you this right. entity to operate,
right.
and you're not doing it right. So we're going to help you out with that. But we're going to penalize you for it.
Right.
But we're going to help you out with it.
We're going to help you, but penalize you, and we gain back some of the ownership.
Correct.
Of you.
Well, yeah, because it's all still yet underneath their umbrella.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So when you said operating the corporation or an LLC or whatever else, there's, and if you notice my name, it's on here, Bad Wolf, but I have what's called Badwolf Unincorporated. Unincorporated is a business, if you want to call it that, but it's a structure for doing business, but not as a corporation.
Okay.
So unincorporated means you're not incorporated. Unincorporated, if you've ever driven down like some road or a little highway in the boondocks, sometimes you see a sign that says unincorporated county.
Okay.
That's because they're saying we're not state and we're not federal. We're doing our own thing. We're not under, we're not in there. And that's why a lot of times the streets are kind of crappy. It's kind of run down because only if you spend money in their little town do they make money. Right. But all of the other cities and whatever else that have incorporated,
right,
they get state and federal funding. So if you join us, we'll give you your little homestead, we'll give you your little deduction and all other stuff. Right. But in fact, there's actually ways to do all that privately, which is what unincorporated means. So Badwolf Unincorporated.
Okay.
And there's actually a way, you can watch my other videos, you can hit me up for a consult or go to my website, but you can get an EIN, anybody, as a tax exempt entity.
See, now I didn't know you could get it as a tax exempt entity.
Well, they're not going to tell you that, but see, you already knew this. You just didn't realize what you knew.
Okay.
Because think about it. If I were to ask you right now, aren't churches tax exempt?
They definitely are.
So what's stopping you from creating a church and getting an EIN and calling it the Gold Dragon and then going to your place of employment and having them compensate tax exempt your check to your entity?
I heard
yeah. It's like the universe is like, he's right.
Right on time.
Okay. There it goes. Computer. Stop music. So
even that computer was happy.
Yeah, it was like, huzzah!
Right. Cheers to you, good man.
Sing on, sir.
All right. Yeah, that was nice. Right on time. But what we're running at, we're coming up on like an hour and a half. So I'm pretty sure we're probably going to have to wrap this up pretty soon. We don't want everybody to go to sleep. I hope everybody's still awake and listening to all of this good information, and finding out how to get the information for yourselves is the main thing. And for me too. That's why I'm here primarily.
Yeah, so we're gonna take a look at some of the questions here and open it up, and then we'll probably wrap it up shortly. So if anybody out there watching right now has a question for me or Brian, you want to know more about what he's doing, where you can find him, his YouTube information, which, matter of fact, let's just recap. Give them, so for the people who came in late, you can tell them a little bit about yourself and where to find you.
That's right.
He can answer, tell them about whatever you want to offer, your people on your YouTube, and then you can help with or answer the questions.
All right. Well, as far as YouTube goes, right now, the YouTube journey for me in martial arts, I am a student of Muay Yat Kung Fu. And being a student of Muay Yat Kung Fu, I'm all wrapped up into it. And now I'm taking it further and further. And I want to study Kung Fu life, not just the moves. And so this journey is continuous and ongoing. And that's what my channel is about. At this time, I'm not really primarily trying to teach people Kung Fu because I am not a Sifu yet. And I want to do all of this the right way and become a Sifu myself. And then I'll be trying to teach people, and maybe more than likely opening up my own school.
And tell them what Sifu means. You got to remember, some people don't know, like we know.
Right. Well, it means the father of your learning.
There you go.
So my Sifu, he is the father of my learning, and the Kung Fu is actually family based. It's family oriented. Some of the people in my family, I simply call them uncles and aunts and everything like that. But we also have the formal names as Sifu, Si Gung, Si Dai, To Dais, Si Tai Gungs, Gung Gungs, all the way up the line. And then all of your cousins to the left and right. Again, it's family based. And the deeper you get into it, they actually teach you about everything that encompasses life, because they are also emulating life. It's really good. It's a very good journey. It's something to get into. You can see me at the Gold Dragon on YouTube. I do have my website, thegolddragon.net, where I have shirts that I designed. I am also trying to raise funds myself so I can also get deeper and do more studying of Kung Fu, because, man, there are some very dedicated people to Wing Chun and Kung Fu and to all the martial arts, really. And one day I want to be able to meet them all. You know, the more you get into it and you start sparring with these guys and touching their hands and receiving their wisdom, the more you want to do it. I'm sure that the Bad Wolf, we might have to get you in there and start getting you exposed to some Kung Fu life. And I'm sure that you're going to love it.
Would you say expose me to something formal?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. And learning that specific style, you know what I mean? So,
Yes. Our specific style is Moyat Kung Fu, which comes from Wing Chun Kung Fu. It's the same thing. Moyat is my grandmaster, and being the great man that he was, we donned the Kung Fu with his name. Some people don't know Wing Chun is literally the name of the very first student. You know, some people take that name, the Wing Chun, as the style, but it was actually the name of the first student, according to legend. Some people don't like this legend, is story, but it is Wing Chun. And in theory, according to legend, Wing Chun was the first student from.
I did hear that,
yeah, from the abyss from Shaolin. There is a movie about it, and you know, I kind of stick to that story, that script. Some of my older uncles, they know deeper into it because their studies have far surpassed mine. I am only coming up on 9 years, and we have guys that are 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. My Sigung, amazing man. I want to hang up with him much, much more, just to soak up his knowledge and his wisdom. And some of his older brothers and younger brothers, again, you just want to get around these guys, learn the moves, and learn Kung Fu life. It becomes way more than just the moves. Absolutely.
So we're going to check out a couple of questions here. Where do I start on this yellow brick road? The fact that you're here already, you've started. The biggest thing that a lot of these gurus out there, and when you guys are doing this, when you're learning, some of the things I can tell you is be careful on who, not necessarily who you listen to, but doing some of these people's processes. Because in this, I have found people who are agents, liars, scammers, and whatever else. Generally, if they're charging a lot of money, or they're talking fast, or they're not giving you their real name, they don't have a legit set up website, it looks a little hokey, those are all bad signs. I would actually recommend like vetting the information. I even tell people to vet my work. Okay, like double check my stuff. You know, I'm not perfect, but I do strive to engage in a high level of perfection. But it doesn't hurt to make sure that, you know, as you're getting this information, that you double check everything. Sometimes if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. But the real thing that these gurus hide is that you already have everything. So it's funny you said the yellow brick road, because just like in The Wizard of Oz, she had everything she needed from the beginning.
True.
She had everything. So, and it's actually funny. So let me jump into this. So people have alleged that the Wizard of Oz was based on what we're talking about.
Okay.
So
the writers must have knew something.
The writers must have known something.
Right.
So here's the thing. So here's what goes on in the back channel, if you will. So I'm looking at the Wizard of Oz. I'm going to drop some things on you guys. So one of the things is, if you notice, there's actually a red brick road right next to the yellow brick road. That's one thing. All right. Number two, according to these people who believe in symbology and whatever else, look at the interesting similarities when it comes to the yellow brick road. The yellow brick road is supposed to represent America, that our land here is gold. Okay. She's on the path of gold.
Yeah. I love gold.
Who doesn't? Dragon.
Yeah.
But also look at the straw man. Remember, the ens legis, the legal person, is called a straw man.
Right. And
what was a straw man? He was a form of a man, but he had no brain.
No brain.
So your straw man, which is a legal person, has no brain. You're supposed to operate it. Look at the Tin Man.
Okay.
He has no heart.
That's business.
And the TIN stands for taxpayer identification number. It's this hard thing that has no heart, but has the ability to do work.
And they turned this into like a children's movie.
They always have to hide the truth in plain sight, because then you're agreeing to it by acquiescence. Now, if you're not smart enough to understand the information, sounds like you're incompetent, sir.
But better know it.
What about the cowardly lion? He represents the American national who's scared of everything. Oh, I need to go and get a lawyer. I need to hide from the court. Yes, take my tax money.
Please.
Yeah.
Put him up. You're
begging, you're hiding, you're scared of everything.
Right. And they need to take care of that guy.
Right. But in fact, if he realized, and when he did at the end, I'm a lion. Hold on.
Right.
That's when he gained his power.
And he had it the whole time. It was just the knowledge and the confidence.
There it is.
And stepping forward.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
The knowledge, the confidence, and stepping forward.
Yeah. So they hide a lot of the truth in all these movies, because just like there are, if you want to say, dark cabals, and they really are ones out there, there are also good ones out there fighting the good fight. But unfortunately, a majority of the Americans, nationals, and state citizens were asleep at the wheel. We're asleep. All that power, all that fire is all in us. And the more people that see this stuff and wake up, the better our future is going to be.
Right.
So, and I see somebody say, I feel like I'm not in Kansas anymore. That's exactly what you're supposed to be, because you're supposed to feel like you're not in America anymore. And if you look at The Wizard of Oz as well, understand that she lived in a world that was black and white, which in the real world, we live in black and white, checked with good and evil. This is real. And this, this is real world.
Right.
But they took her where? To a place of color, magic, fantasies, illusions, things to do what? Distract you. Colors are distracting. Real world is black and white. You got to make that money, you got to pay the bill.
Right, okay.
But they took her on a path, on a journey from the black and white world into the color world. Now, we would think, oh, color is beautiful, but it's the symbolism here. Kids are attracted to color. Real men and women work every day hard, just black and white, bro. I got to put these 8 hours in. I got to make this check. I got to keep these lights on.
Straight up.
All right. Which, by the way, if you guys want to donate, it's on blacksite32.com. So they were telling us the entire time what's going on, and they still continue to do it in these movies. They have to put the truth, the good and the bad, in front of you, so that you accept it by what they call acquiescence. Acquiescence means by your silence, so have you agreed. And here's one of the case laws, and I'll try not to say it in the terms, but I'll try to say this the proper way so it doesn't offend people. But if somebody leaves a establishment, one's a man, one's a female, and for some reason the guy inappropriately grabs her hand and just starts walking off with her, and they do adult things, and she never says no along the way, do you know that in law, by her acquiescence, she agreed to do it, or he, or they, or whatever it is.
Right.
But that's acquiescence. Law says, well, you didn't operate as in that time, you're supposed to then be a belligerent and combatant.
Right. You're supposed to know what to say and do.
Correct. So, but when we,
at least to some degree, right?
Right. Yes. But normally when we operate in the private, we operate as non-belligerents and non-combatants, because we're saying we're not crazy. Which means if you're not crazy, you're competent,
right? And
you're not a belligerent, okay? And you're not a combatant, which means you're not in the war. See, what they're doing is this is war stuff. Okay. These are laws for a warring nation on the water, and you're either one of them or you're not. Or you can be in their business or be in their water and do business with them, but you're not a member of theirs. But you know how to operate yourself in their waterways.
Jeez, wow.
And this is something that's being done around the entire world. Man. I get people from Australia, South America, Canada, and they're like, hey, they're doing the same thing over here. But the names are different.
Right.
Just like the Tower of Babel. We've confused and confounded their language so that they can't work together.
Right.
And that's the big thing.
The game is still the game. It's just in a different location. Maybe they switched up a couple words that probably mean the same. you know, a lot of these words go back to the Latin definitions of the words and how they put them together, where then also different languages do have just different tones, by the way, but just in general, it's still the game. The game is now being replicated around the world. You know what I mean?
So here, Glock says Jupiter Ascending is about status correction. Yep, I've seen that one. Sir, a lot. I'm halfway though. Okay. And Out of the Matrix, that's another one that was based on what's really going on. Color of Law. Color of Law is where a police officer who we think is the law is actually a LEO, which is a legal enforcement officer. And they're actually a privately held thing, but they operate as like almost like public security. So it's like public security for public, but sheriffs, marshals, federal agents, they are the law.
Okay.
So they're lawful. They are actually the law. Like they are the law. Police officers are legal. They're corporate for U.S. citizens. They sometimes work together, but that's why, you know, like a federal agent, like, dude, get out of my jurisdiction. You're cop. Beat it.
Right.
Because
levels to this game.
Those guys have dominance over everything, unless the cops are like, no, this is a civil matter for U.S. citizens, then they have the jurisdiction. A color of law is basically, you can sue under, it's 1983 Deprivation of Rights 242, which states that you're saying that the police officer who did this, you're not the law. You don't control and own me. Now, that doesn't mean you're above the law, but what it's saying is that it's like a mall cop, essentially. No offense to the police officers out there, but you're like a mall cop and you're taking your job very seriously. But see, they can do that if you are operating as a U.S. citizen. And cops in general are also endowed with the ability to take care of everything that happens in the public domain.
Right.
Outside of your house is public. Your house is private, or should be made private with a private trust.
And this is why they need a warrant to get in, just in general.
Right. Because who they get that from is if they do it correctly, it should be an Article 3 judge on the federal level. Because that judge isn't saying, I'm giving you permission to just go and do what you got to do. So if a cop enters your house or takes something without a warrant, that's a problem if you know the law.
Right, absolutely.
If you don't challenge it, then he just got away with something he wasn't supposed to do.
Those dirty bums.
And then the bad ones. The bad ones. Yes, the bad ones. I've got plenty of friends, family. Even my next door neighbor is a retired cop. He knows exactly what I do. He gets a kick out of it. He's like, yeah, that's awesome. He's like, you know. Somebody said something about fruit. Probably they were mentioning the book Fruit from a Poisonous Tree is a fire read. Definitely want to do that. So are you about ready to wrap it up?
I am. Yeah, we have done a lot of learning today. My mind has been blown again. And now I think I'm ready to take the next steps. I mean, you clearly spelled it out for all of us. Like, look, go to the videos and start there and read up on the definitions.
It's a lot. So for a lot of people who want to get started, it's, if you really want to start to see, like I said, some of the books I can mention is like Fruit from a Poisonous Tree, Getting to Know Your Straw Man by, David E. Robinson is a good book. I just got another one called Government by Consent by John Darash. Constitutional Law for Dummies is another good one to get your feet wet. I would also recommend, if you want to start to see what they're really talking about, you don't have to get brand new books. Most of mine are used, but go and get a Black Laws Dictionary. All right. Now, the older ones, like this one here, which is 1891.
This one right here. So
this is the first one. And this is, what is it, 12? Yeah, 12. So this is the first one. This is the 12. You don't have to get them all. This one is going to have not going to have some terms because this is the modern version. There's been a lot of modern improvements and updates. But this one has a lot of the old, like one of the things in one of the old books that they have, when you look up the word human being, it actually says a monster to be controlled.
What?
Yeah.
In this one?
when you get some of these old books, it starts to refer to certain things that we use every day. We think we understand. Or like if you're in court and the judge says, you, sir, are an idiot or an idiota, right? We're thinking, oh, he just called me dumb. Well,
Right.
in these books, those terms mean somebody who's a private citizen and not clothed and educated in their world, not subject to our jurisdiction.
And they're using it right in front of you.
Right in front of you, and all you have to do is agree. Yes, Your Honor, I'm in fact an idiot or an idiota. You are correct.
Boy, they think they slick.
No, they are slick.
They think they slick out here. There you
So,
go.
but getting a Black Law dictionary allows you to look up their words and see the differences. And these will cost you about $90, $94. And you're going to be blown away. As you can see, I've got lots of things tabbed in here. I made a video on Black Law's book, how it started, how I traced the owners and creators of it over the continents to find where it originated from. And when you go through, if you watch that video, I talk about a lot of the words that we use on a daily basis. And you're going to be like, oh my God, this dude is right. And you're going to be blown away. It's a lot of things we think we understand. Well, let me say this correctly. We overstand the American version of these words, but in them talking to us, they're speaking a slightly different language with the same English language. So same words, we're speaking English and they're speaking law, Black's law, with the same spelling of the words and everything, but different definitions.
Right.
So I would recommend grabbing those books. And once again, just watching the videos. Just watch the videos. And I would recommend going all the way back to my first videos and just learning. So with that being said, guys, we're going to start to wrap this now. I want to thank everybody for watching the show. So thanks, Mark, Alex, Ashley, Rando, Mounting Flame. You're almost always here. Good attendance as always. Appreciate you. Simulation. Appreciate you. Ham, Green, Glock. Some of the same there. Nobody 25. Appreciate you out there. And let's see, Zach, Cynthia, King, Cosmic. I am Forevermore. And Black Screen, Fruits and Web, and Silent Walk. All of you guys help to support me with the likes. So don't forget to hit those likes, the bell, like, subscribe, get those thumbs up. I don't know where I am with those, but those do help when it comes to dealing with YouTube, because YouTube, though is a great company, they have a process in place. Some people call it shadow banning, where if you guys don't show support with the thumbs up, they will kind of go, oh, you're not interested, and either not show you the information, or sometimes they'll even unsubscribe you from certain people's websites. So, or YouTube channels. So definitely hit the thumbs up and like. If you guys don't see any of my videos pop up, always go to my main channel and just get them from there. Click on the video from the main channel, because I put out probably anywhere between 8 to 20 videos a month, you know, usually in the beginning and usually at the end. And so you guys should be seeing normal videos, all right, almost always. Unless I go on vacation or something like that, which will probably be in April, because that's my birthday and I'm going to be going on hiatus and relaxing.
All right, well,
that's it.
Thank you, James, for having me on.
Yes, sir.
Definitely. I appreciated it. You know, I appreciate the experience of going live. Thank you, everybody, for listening to me as well for the little time that I talked about Wing Chun and Kung Fu. I did start my YouTube channel, so I would also thank you to come to my channel and hit the subscribe button as I get started, get going, and follow me on my martial arts journey with Kung Fu and just seeing how far I could take it. I thank you as well. Hopefully I see some of those names as well.
What's the YouTube channel again?
The YouTube channel is The Gold Dragon.
Okay. All right.
The Gold Dragon.
All right. And your main website?
The main website is thegoldragon.net.
All right.
I keep it plain and simple, man. You're going to learn today.
You're going to learn. That is it. Keep it simple. That is it. So, all right, guys, with that being said, I'm gonna let you guys have the rest of your nights. Just enjoy yourself and, stay healthy, your mind, your body, your soul. Take time for yourself to just breathe and relax. Try to make sure you're not eating such processed food and stuff of that nature. Some of you people might have seen what I was drinking over here. I'm not recommending that you do or not do anything. This is not health advice. Seek a professional. But this here is about 8 drops of what's known as methylene blue. Now, I'm not going to go into everything that it does, but I will say that it has many benefits that you guys really should look up for yourselves. All right. So even though this is a synthetic thing, some of the things, I'm not saying that individual results may vary, but this has different, there's different things for different reasons that you might find it beneficial to do. But I'll let you guys look that up on your own. And one last thing. I personally take, so this is my personal experience, magnesium. Magnesium is a huge thing. It's involved between 300 to 600 operations within the human body. And I would say that you should look up what those things are, because you will be amazed at potentially some of the things that some people suffer from. You may find a form of relief in the things that I've mentioned. So get your good multi 1-a-day vitamins, not the ones that smell like tar. Those aren't great for you. So go to a health food store, support everything natural, get your water filtered, all that good stuff. Even the water in your shower head should have a filter on there. But with that being said, guys, have a great night. We're going to close it out. And thanks for being a part of this. And we will do more videos. And that's it. Later.
Peace.